In this video, we have a look at some good overtakes, as well as looking at some of the bad ones with a huge takeout in a GTWS. Hello everyone, and welcome to this video, which is all about overtaking. Yes, our favorite subject, overtaking. And in the background, you are going to see some replay footage, etc., while I just do this brief discussion and introduction to the video, of course, because I want to just explain overtaking a little bit more and why it is so opinionated and it can get so heated in terms of sim racing. If you ever wondered why, or open your minds, and this is all about discussion, make sure you put your opinions in the comments, of course. Keep it friendly and nice. Your opinion may be different to my opinion. This is the point of the video. We're just going to discuss it, go through it, what I consider a clean overtake and what isn't a clean overtake. Now, part of this was brewed up essentially because of Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, because recently in the World Series event, quite a few drivers in the top splits had their points taken away for moves that were considered overly aggressive, or there was contact in there, and some of them were rightly so, they should have been, and others not so. And it's like, well, okay, there's no clear rule in Gran Turismo's terms in terms of what is clean and what isn't, so how does that work? Whose opinions count? And that's why I just want to look at it from my opinion. We'll look at some of those. We'll also look at some examples that I've been racing with. So some people where they've blamed me, for example, for an overtake, where I've said that's a really good overtake, or where I've said it's a really bad overtake. Some of you will have different opinions to it. And again, just lob them in the comments if you do have any. Always good to hear people's opinions and people's takes. Sometimes my opinion can change based on a take somebody else has, because they look at it from a different light. And again, this is all opinionated. Overtaking is an opinion on an incident at the time. That's why Formula 1 always kicks off and has toxicity sometimes, because they go, oh, it's Max's fault, oh, it's Lewis's fault, blah, blah, blah. There's no set rule in stone because each incident is unique. It's also based on where you live. And this is a really weird take, and I've said it before, but it's an actual factual statement. So when I went to the European finals in Madrid in 2018, we got driven in some supercars and sports cars, from our hotel to the venue, of course, where we were racing to make the World Finals, which I did, woohoo! But in that race, in particular, in Madrid, I was involved in an incident, for example, and I thought it wasn't fair, but even so, it is what it is. But the person who drove us there was talking about how Mediterranean drivers are far more aggressive on the roads than they are in the UK. And that's their take and opinion. And arguably, if you do go abroad, especially if you're a Brit going abroad to Spain, or I recently went to Crete, for example, the Cretans are crazy at driving. They're quite aggressive when they drive. Well, guess what? It's the way they're brought up. It's the way they live. It's the way they drive. And it works for them. But if you have somebody, say, from Crete, and they drive quite aggressively like that, they may drive aggressively online because that's how they've been brought up and lived. Whereas in the UK, it's not as aggressive. So we look at something and go, oh, that's just absolutely atrocious driving. Where they go, no, that's just normal driving. See? It's sort of interesting when we look at it. So what we're going to do, we're going to go through some GTWS Incidents, which is the Gran Turismo World Series, if you are unsure. I'm also going to give some examples of some good overtakes that I've done in racing recently, some bad overtakes, also some very good defensive moves as well. We'll talk about defending as well, because I know Hodgson, on the day of filming today, said, oh, sorry, Tidge. And I was like, no, it's perfectly good defense. Again, different opinion. They thought they blocked me. I said it was a perfectly good defense. We'll have a look at that, for example. But I've been blamed for some stuff as well, and we can have a look at that, and we can say, okay, it was your fault, wasn't your fault, just an opinion, and we'll have a look at it a bit more. Because, of course, TCR as a whole represents trustworthy, clean, respectful. Clean is very much an opinion, as I've just said. Let's jump into some overtakes now. Let's stop yapping. Let's have a look at some of the good stuff. Okay, we're going to start, first of all, with some sends. Now, sending it on anybody is always a risk. Now, you also have to have some compliance from your competitor. They also have to understand that if you do send it and you do make the apex, they're entitled to go for that send. We are racing at the end of the day. Now, some people quite often turn in when somebody sends it, and there's no reason for it. There is no reason for it, because if you're turning in as they sent it, you're going to crash. Now, if you did that in real life, you damage the car, race is over. You have to be aware of what's going on around you. So we're going to start off here with my move on Sebastian Loeb, which you may have seen yesterday. So as we come down here, and we're going to head up towards Ruiz. It's a very common place to send it here. So I've got the run here. I'm going to head towards the inside, and I release the brakes a little bit just to make sure I get there. And look at that, I'm on the inside of the corner. Now, arguably, we're side by side there, and as we leave the corner, that's absolutely fine. And they actually make a quite a nice decision there to not try and fight it too much there on the exit. Now, I've always said if you send it, as long as you make the apex, you're absolutely fine, okay? If you don't make the apex, that's when it becomes a problem. Now, you can either give up in terms of the position, and then I would say that's fine, and then you carry on racing as normal. I've done that plenty of times before. You've seen that on the channel. But as long as you make the apex, sending it is absolutely fine. I'll see if I can find another one, and I'll be with you in one moment. So I found another one right here. So this is Dragon Trail Seaside. I'm in the Bugatti Veyron, and we've got the Spanish driver up ahead. So you can see here, I'm quite far behind. What we're going to do is play this, and let's see how much of a send this one is then as we go into this slight right-hander. So we've got the run here in the slipstream. We're going to go towards that left-hand side. We are not the lead car at the moment. We go hard on the brakes. So now we've sent it down the inside, and job done. Nice and easy. Now, that wasn't an extreme send. It was still a send all the same. I made the apex. Arguably, that super backed out, and that was the end of that maneuver. But again, critically, and I want to point this out here, as we come into this part here, as we go hard on the brakes, I guess what I'm going to do, look at that, I'm easily on the apex. I'm actually over the apex, to be honest with you, but that's how you do the Dragon Trail Seaside Turn 1 in the Veyron. So look at that, that's absolutely fine. And there's loads of space on the right-hand side as well, but they're not there anymore because they're here and they've given that one up. Again, a perfectly valid send. I am looking for an extreme send, but what we will do actually is go on to the next maneuvers, which is going to be a cutback. So when we look at cutbacks, essentially what we're saying here is somebody is either going to try and overtake us, or we're trying to overtake somebody, but forcing them into sort of outbraking themselves and doing a nice little cutback. Okay. So here we have me in the Veyron, we've got Key in the Aston Martin up ahead, and we've got Hack and Power in the McLaren. Big old battle going on right now, okay. So I can see what's happening in the distance, and we can see here we are catching them all up here as we head in towards this left-hander. Now, Key sent it round the outside there. I can see that coming. So what I'm going to do is stick over towards the left and do a nice little cut back here on the right-hand side. And I go clean on through. Left a little bit of space there for Key to come back on. I can then take the racing line, and then jobs are good 'em. So what I did there is I assessed the situation, okay? So as we get to this point coming up here, I can see what's going on here. There's a big old fight. I don't want to get involved in that fight, and I highly recommend if you're in this scenario, just back out of this a little bit. Let's see what's going to happen here and capitalize on any errors. So as we come into here then, we can see now they're going to be 3 wide. You can't all make it 3 wide. You really can't, okay? So this is why I'm braking earlier than normal. That's why everybody's braking up ahead a little bit later than me. The Veyron has better brakes than all of these cars up ahead. So as we come into here then, Key goes a little bit deep. Now I know where Key's going to go at this moment in time. It's very hard to bring the car back onto a decent racing line at this moment in time. So I've assessed the situation. I've taken a tighter line here. The racing line are where those 2 McLarens are. Taking a more tighter line towards this left-hand side, okay? And as I come back, I know exactly the line I want to take here, and that is a clean move in terms of a cutback. I do have another look at a cutback, which we'll have a look right about now. So interestingly, for this next cutback, I started it here. And the reason I started it here, because again, it's one of those assessment situations. Cutbacks are very much about assessment. I've talked about before where you can look at a driver, like I'm Very Big Boss, who's in P3 at the moment in this race, the Italian. I've looked at their driving before now, and if they've done something, I can then learn their driving style and sort of react to it. Generally speaking, if I can see a player constantly trying to outbrake somebody, I know a cutback is going to work very well, and it's something to keep in mind, okay? So a cutback can work well in that scenario when someone's trying to outbrake everybody, because they'll just outbrake themselves, and you do a nice little cutback. So that's what happened with Key, obviously, at Seaside. This is slightly different though, okay? So I'm going to start playing the video, and up in the distance there, the Subaru's going to go off the circuit and go off-roading. They come back on the circuit there, but one critical thing to remember here, when you go all 4 wheels off the circuit in Gran Turismo, you have dirt on your tyres, which means you're going to struggle in the next corner. Now, I can see here they're going defensive, and Canyon Drifter, I think, watches the channel, so hello to you. It's just obviously an educational overtake this, just to explain it. So Canyon Drifter's going to go defensive. 9 times out of 10, when someone goes defensive with dirty tyres, they're going to go deep, okay? And I already know that. So there's no point forcing the issue trying to go up the left-hand side here. There really isn't. So I'm going to go towards the right-hand side, knowing that they're going to go deep. I already knew this, and that's why I come over to this right-hand side. They then go into this corner. What do you know? They go deep because they don't have the braking. Nice quick cut back. Job done. Cutbacks generally look for the racing line. You're trying to stay on that racing line while they make the mistake and go too deep. Best way to do a cutback. There you see a perfect execution of that. You see there, Canyon Drifters just trying to recover from that slide they just had in the Subaru, and I've gained the position from that. I love doing cutbacks because essentially you're outmaneuvering. In this situation, it wasn't an aggressive drive, but you can basically outmaneuver any aggressive drivers. So if you do have aggressive drivers behind you or in front of you, the key thing there is to make sure that they go for the outbraking maneuvers so you can do this kind of move. What we're going to look at next then, in terms of overtaking moves, in terms of clean moves at least, we're going to go into some dirty moves shortly, don't worry, is looking at moves around the outside, because this can get very dangerous very quickly. So the first one is the most recent one. Now, again, overtaking around the outside, super risky. I've literally just said that because you are reliant, and I'm going to reiterate, you are reliant on the other driver knowing you are there and making sure that they give you space. And that's the critical part. You should be allowed space if you are pretty alongside, to be honest with you. But that doesn't always happen. I've got an example of that shortly as well. But here we go anyway. We're on board Lewis, okay? Lewis can see all the action going on up ahead. I'm slowing down there in the Porsche. I'm right behind Shelty. This was the daily race this week. So as we come through here then and go into here, we can see everybody slowing down. Lewis slows down nicely. And Lewis knows I have to go defensive or do something here. So Lewis sees the opportunity to go around the outside. And this is an amazing move. Now, Lewis knows I race clean and I will give space there. I'm sure Lewis knows that. And that was a perfectly executed move around the outside. And I had to give room there, because if I didn't, that would be, in my opinion, considered dirty driving by myself if I didn't. So as we come into here, let's go a bit quicker. As I go through here, Lewis is actually the lead car in that scenario as well. Adds more to it to show you a nice clean move in terms of an overtake around the outside. Look at that. It's just beautiful racing. Well played, Lewis, with that move. And that is a good move. Again, Lewis assessed the situation, put his car accordingly, went round the outside. Now, I do have an example here where there was basically a call of blame, as the blame was on me. So we're going to have a look at that now. Right, so I found a replay here. This was the one I was looking for quite a while. Annoyingly, I accidentally deleted the live footage because my live streaming recording folder is only 500 gig, and that fills up quite quickly. So I'm in the BMW here. We're actually going to catch up to this BMW right here very quickly. See how much we've just caught up there. So they've got an issue. They've got damage. There's just been a yellow flag. So I'm going to send it round the outside now, okay? Because that's what I can do here. They've gone defensive. I am entitled to space at this moment in time as we come into here. Again, slight tap there. Forces me onto the grass. That is on them. That is their error in that situation. Now, I wasn't too happy with that. I'm going to start flashing away, as you can see there, because I'm unhappy. Now, for some people, they will say you're not entitled to that space. But I am, because if you look here, look, I am so far alongside. Literally, at this moment in time, the Spanish driver has to give me room here, okay? They have to give me room. Now, as we continue on, they just continue turning left, which unfortunately is going to put my left rear onto the grass, and I'm going to go for a spin. So that's bad driving on their part, and in this situation, in my opinion, they should give up the position. Now, we're actually going to follow through with this a bit further then, because obviously you can overtake via slipstream. This is what this is. So nice easy overtake here with slipstream. There's no issue there. And if you ever have this opportunity where slipstream is possible, just go for the move in terms of that. Now we're going to follow this through because Spanish driver blamed me for the previous one. So obviously they're racing me quite hard here. So I'm going to race them hard as well as we go into here. So this is a send here that we were talking about earlier on as we go into this left-hander. And this is all fine through there. There's a slight tap on my rear quarter there. So I made the corner absolutely fine there. Again, with the send. This is what I'm talking about with sending it, by the way. So I'm not the lead car here. Okay, we're in the same car as well. So I sent it into this corner. Now, as I come into here, we are going to do this in slow motion if I can. Wish you could go a little bit quicker here. So as we go into this left-hander, they've left me room on the inside, which is fair enough. Once again, I have hit the apex here, which is literally a part of the rules that I always say with racing. As we continue on through here, look at it side by side. Okay, now they're still on my inside, so I have to leave them a little bit of room here as we then head towards the right. There's contact there as we head towards the right-hander. So I'm in the middle of the circuit right now. And as we go into this right-hander, you can cut the inside. Now, they've straightened up a little bit there. I have no idea why they did straighten up, but we continue on through this right-hander then. And it looks like they lose the rear quarter there, or the rear of the car slightly as we go through here. I can run them tight, but they still have room on the circuit, which is what I'm talking about there as we continue on. So, there's two places there where, I mean, that second one, that's just a racing incident, to be honest with you. They've lost the rear of the car. It's not the end of the world there as we continue on through here. Obviously, I'm right behind them again here then as we head towards this next corner, and we're looking down the inside. Now, they've completely opened this corner up here. Completely opened. Okay, we'll play it full speed first of all, and then we're going to look back at this one because I got blamed for this as well. So obviously, they've gone towards the left-hand side. I'm towards the right here as we go into this corner. Through we go. And there is just enough room there on the left-hand side. However, they go off the circuit. They actually drive off the circuit, it looks like there to me. But if we look at this again, now when you're in this scenario, and we're sort of going into defensive driving, which we're going to talk about after, when you are in this scenario, okay, and somebody's behind you and you don't want them to go past, defend it. Defend it, defend it, defend it. If you literally are just staying towards the left-hand side, you are opening up yourself for an overtake. Whether you like it or not, you've opened up the gap. There's a large gap there. It's not like this Senna's, going for a gap, racing driver. It's not like that. This is literally, you're opening it up. And I'm the lead car at this point. So as we come into here, okay, we're going to go through here. They have to make an adjustment mid-corner, which doesn't help them at all in this scenario. Now, this is quite a fast corner anyway, as we go through the right-hander then. And is there contact there? I don't know, is there contact? I can't even tell. I don't believe so. They can still make the corner there, in my opinion. What are they doing in terms of throttle? Let's see, they're accelerating here as well, which is not very helpful. I'm not even accelerating. I'm giving them room. They're trying to accelerate. Oh, no, wrong person. They're still trying to accelerate. And they've gone off. Now, I question... do they have enough space? There's enough space there, in my view. Easily enough space there for a BMW M6. Now, I just want to see as we go through here from their perspective. And we're going to have a look at their steering input here now as well as we go into this right-hander. So they make the adjustment there. They're trying to turn right. It's too late then. And this is the thing with this. Okay. So, once again, they blame me for this one, of course. They blame me for all three, apparently. But there we go. So as you come into here, okay, you're leaving yourself open. You can't take a time trial line in a race when somebody is right up your trumpet, right up your exhaust here, okay? And again, this is going into defensive driving, and we're going to talk about defensive driving in a second. But as you see here, as we go into here, I'm alongside at this moment in time. So you now have to make the adjustment. You are now the outside car. Now, I do make the apex here. See, there's an adjustment there to go straight. Now, that's going to unsettle the car completely as we go into this right-hander. As we go through here, is there any contact? Looks like there might be contact there. It's so close, you can't actually tell. The car doesn't move. No, there's no contact there at all. They're just trying to accelerate through the corner. You can't do that. And again, I'm not accelerating at all. So, yeah, it's one of those where you have to make the adjustment. You've tried to stay on throttle, but it's not going to work there. They've tried to maintain position, essentially, but it's not going to work. And then, yeah, they're going to go off. And as we see here, as we go up, they're still trying to accelerate. We can see that there. It's not going to happen. They're also dabbing the brakes, which is not going to help them. That's just going to force more understeer at that moment in time. They just need to lift off, and they're going to go off the circuit. And, yeah, we're going to head to Narnia there. But you saw there around the outside earlier on, you have to leave space there. I was already alongside. Again, I have to leave space in this scenario. And you can see that quite clearly there's a space there. I've done this side by side many times. And, yeah, they've lost out there, unfortunately. So when you go around the outside, you are very reliant on the driver. And as we saw earlier on, going back to the original overtake that we were discussing, and here we are. You're very reliant on the driver understanding and being very aware that you are there. So as we come into here, for example, once again, going around the outside, I am there. And again, it's just didn't leave enough space there. Didn't leave enough space. They could have easily left the space there, but that was unfortunate. They did leave space on the second exit, though, which I do appreciate. So I believe that's all the overtakes that we needed to do here then. So what we are going to do now is we're going to look at defending. Sorry about that. I accidentally stopped the recording midstream. So what we're going to look at now is we're going to look at defending and how you defend against this. I've already talked about, sends. You will defend it on the inside, for example. But let's actually have a look at defending in terms of some interesting moves that you can do and some that you can't do, okay? And first up, we're going to actually jump to Yamagiwa. So first up, now I call this a clean defense, okay? And it's actually Hodgson in the distance. I'd mentioned this earlier on, okay? Now Hodgson apologized for this, and I'm like, no, you don't apologize for this. This is bang on perfect what you should do in this scenario. Your goal when you're defending a position, as we all know, is you are making sure you keep your position, but you do it in a clean and fair way. Don't run somebody off the circuit, as we just saw before. So, in this scenario, okay, let's watch it fully through. So we're going to head towards the chicane now. And as we come into here, there's fighting going on ahead. Now, somebody's actually gone off the circuit as well here, so cars are going to go slower and be everywhere. So I'm trying to maximize my opportunity here. Hodgson defends very nicely on that left-hand side. Now, I've got nowhere to go here, and Hodgson blocks me in there. Doesn't block me, blocks me in. It's very different, that, okay? Hodgson's put me in a position where I have to brake. I have to brake, and I can no longer go for the move. That is a perfect defense, that one. That is a perfect. You can't ask to defend any better than that, because you forced me into a place where I can't now, I can no longer overtake. And it was just beautifully done here. So Hodgson's looking on the left of the Ferrari as well, and it's going to see me come into picture here and make sure that I can't go anywhere. I go on the brakes there because I can't do anything else other than hit Bembo, and racing is a non-contact sport. That is a beautiful defense. There is no reason why you can't do that. And the reason I'm showing you this as well is because you can force people into a position where they can't overtake, or if they go for the overtake, there is a ginormous risk. What do I mean by that? Well, let's jump to the next shot. Here we are in Suzuka, and it's been raining. If you did this race, this was a fantastic race that you could get involved with in the Gran Turismo World Series, and we've got Mario Sonic up ahead. Now, it's a drying track, so if you can't tell, on the right and left hand side, the track is very wet. I'm on dry tyres right now. Mario Sonic is also on dry tyres, as you can see right there. Now, critically, that means there's only a certain amount of the circuit I can use without spinning out, because I'm on dry tyres, we're on the wet part. It's game over, isn't it? So let's have a look at this then. So Mario Sonic is going to stick in the dry line, which is perfect. This is exactly what you do, okay? Sort of in the wrong place there. It goes back to the dry line. Now, I'm just going to pause it here. There is literally only just room for 2 cars here to do this. So this is a very risky move for me to do. And the reason I'm going for this is because I felt I was much faster than Mario Sonic in this situation, and I had to get past with only 7 laps to go. Let's see what happens. As we head towards turn 1, I'm on the wet stuff there, and I go for a bit of spin, and I need to take Mario Sonic. Now, if I did take out Mario Sonic, that would have been my fault. But critically, Mario Sonic put me in a perfect place where I couldn't overtake. And I actually learned from this, and in the next race, I did the exact same thing as Mario Sonic, and I made sure somebody else had the issue and did the exact same thing. But this is another perfect defense. Stay on your line where you need to be and force the other person to go for maximum risk. This is a beautiful defense because Mario Sonic's there in the right place. I go for the overtake. I hit the wet stuff. I go for a spin. Brilliant defense there, Mario Sonic. Really well played. And that's what I'm talking about here by forcing somebody into an issue. Hodgson did it. Forced me into an issue where I had to brake. Brilliant. Blocked me in. Not blocked. Blocked me in. Okay. And there, Mario Sonic did something awesome. Now, what we're going to talk about now is bad defending. Okay. So, I just mentioned about blocking in. Blocking is reactionary movements, essentially. You're blocking the person behind you. Now, you can make one move and then return to the racing line. That's what's common in most motorsports, okay? And that is what generally I race by. There's no reason to be weaving on a straight braking slipstream. Don't like that. I think it's a bit stupid because I can just follow the slipstream anyway. But critically, if you're reacting to my movement, let's have a look at that now. Okay, so here we are with Roberto. Now, if you've seen the weekly race guide, you know exactly what's going to happen. But if you haven't, this is all about bad defending now. This is a really bad defense that I want to explain. So, if you're in this scenario and you're Roberto, you've got somebody right behind you. You've got a long start-finish straight coming up. You know there's going to have slipstream. You know they're going to go for a move, okay? If I'm Roberto and... Well, yeah, if I'm Roberto and I see Tidgney behind me that close, I know Tidgney is going to go for a move. What should you do in this scenario? Now, I fail at this sometimes as well, this first part. Okay, so as we play this then, let's have a look what Roberto does. So we are in the slipstream. We're starting to catch now. Roberto is in... There we go. So it does the first move there, okay. That arguably counts as one move, by the way. I just want to clarify that. That's one move in that scenario. So Roberto's chosen his line at this moment in time. But if you look over here, look at all this space. Yeah, you're leaving that wide open in that situation, okay? So what we're going to do is play this a bit further. Where does Roberto go now? He goes a bit more over. Again, that's the second move at this moment in time. You can't really move anymore. You can return over this side of the circuit, but you've left this side open. So I'm perfectly entitled to go for this side in this situation. Okay, so what do? I go towards the inside, and there we go. Roberto reacts to the fact that I've gone towards that inside and hits me off. That is very bad driving. So if we get to that moment again, this problem here, you can't rewind it nice and easy. So we get to this moment in time. So I'm going to now go for that down the inside line. And I can perfectly do this. That's absolutely fine. Roberto made his move and didn't cover it off. Now, if I was Roberto, I'd be over where I am now to defend this, because obviously this then shrinks off. I can't go for that move further. So at this moment in time, I am now overlapping with Roberto. Roberto started to turn right again because he's seen that I've done that. He's now going to go on the brakes, but it's too late at this moment in time. It's not even in the braking zone, by the way. Just to clarify, the braking zone is here if you're on the racing line. So arguably, it's about here where I would brake in this scenario, which is going to be, what, 10, 12 meters further back than normal. So as we carry on through here then, here we go. And do I brake there? I don't even know where I'm braking now. So he's hit me at that moment. He's released the brakes actually there. And now I go on the brakes. But unfortunately, I'm already on the grass at this moment in time because Roberto decides to do some reactionary defending. If you do that, that's actually illegal blocking. You would be penalised for that in real life in terms of a lot of racing series, because what you've done there is you move once, you move twice, and now you've moved a third time. Move once only. Once only. So I then try and recover this, of course. Yeah, it's just bad. It's bad defending. We'll have a look at it from the bumper cam in terms of this. So you see that in your rear view mirror, whoever it is, you know they're going to get a run on you in towards turn number 1. Okay, so let's have a look at this. Where does Roberto go? There you go. He moves and now he's straight. So that's one move. Okay, that's 2 moves. Now he's straight again. And as we go here, then he turns when I'm already there, and it's too late. You can't do that at that point. You've just caused the incident yourself there, Roberto. And that is reactionary braking, essentially blocking to try and maintain position. Definitely not good. You see, I actually flashed my lights there because it's just, it's bad driving. Don't do that. Make your move, make it clear. And that's one key thing I also want to mention here. If you make your move very clear, you're going to be involved in less incidents. Because if you make your move clear, they can make their move clear, and you can actually have some good racing. Now, racing is meant to be unpredictable, but a lot of people suffer from bad driving. Not all driving, when you get hit, is dirty driving. It's bad driving. If you make yourself very clear of your intentions, that means the other person can see what your intentions are and then judge accordingly. And you have your little strategy where you go for the cutback, you send it, you do whatever you need to do. Make your intentions clear. So if I was Roberto at that moment in time, as I say, going through here, I would be over towards the right-hand side. I'd be as close to that wall as humanly possible. That would tell me, or tell the car behind, you're not going down the inside. If you go down the inside, there's no space there because I'm there and you're going to hit me. And now, if I hit Roberto from behind, that's my fault. I don't hit him from behind. So in this situation, he's moved once, twice, and then I go for that, and then he turns in, and then, yeah, does that. So, yeah, dodgy blocking by all stretch of the imagination. No idea why he did that. It was really awful, to be honest with you, in terms of driving standards, and we saw that throughout the race. You can go watch the full weekly race guide for that. Okay. So you need to make sure you cover that position. And that's defending in a nutshell. Now, on tight circuits, you just keep the tight line, to be honest with you, because they can't actually get you off. If you're on the racing line or taking a tight line on a really small circuit, it's very hard to overtake. Brands Hatch is a good example of, if you maintain the racing line, it's very hard to overtake somebody, okay? Unless they make an error, of course. So that's been a long video. What we're going to do now, actually, is we're going to look at some of the GT World Series moves where there was penalizations and not penalizations, just get a final clarity on some of the actions, and then we'll end the video. Sorry it's a long video, but it's always good to show some good examples, detailed talk through on incidents, and then you get a feel of what I understand as clean and dirty driving, and you also get that as well. Right, first up is this incident from the Toyota GT Series Cup thing that happens. I've never raced in this, actually. Toyota Gazoo Racing GT Cup. It says it right here. So this is from Twitter. So sorry about the bad quality a little bit here for this video as well. But we're on board P3. I've not actually watched this. I watched it at the time. I've not watched it since, so I can't remember what on earth happened here. But we're on board the Italian as we go up here. And this is the Italian is the one who has their points removed. So let's hit play and let's have a gander then. They're going to head up into the braking zone then. So Paul's looking down the inside of Sutsu. Slight bit of contact between the two. In towards the left we go. There's a tap on Sutsu, which pushes Paul off a little bit. Interesting. Okay, so we're actually going to have a bit more of it this incident here because it jumps to pole length, pull down the inside. Releases the brake a little bit there, and there's contact between the two. Through the left we go. We can see there. That's an interesting one. Like, personally, I would call that more of a racing incident, to be honest with you. But let's have a look at the Italian's inputs, just out of curiosity. So as we come into here then, through the left, I want to slow this down. Just a quick gander at this. I like Twitter for this. So 0.5, through the left we go. Did I start accelerating? Yeah, it's 100% acceleration into Sutsu. Now, it's an interesting one, this, because arguably Pole stays on the track but Pole does lose out. But when Pole goes for the move here, Pole actually releases the brakes as well. So if you look at the braking into here, for example, 100%, dropping off the brakes a little bit now to make sure Pole gets ahead as he comes into this corner. And as they come in, there's the ping pong physics as well. which doesn't help the situation. Through the left we go. This is all on slow-mo. There's a push there. Okay, I can see why the penalty was given. That push there in slow-mo shows that without the push, Pole would have stayed on the circuit, and arguably Pole wouldn't have dropped down, because I'm not sure where Pole drops to here, P4, and arguably Pole would have stayed P2, or at least be alongside P2. So I can understand that why the penalty was applied. Taking all the penalty points away was pretty harsh, in my opinion. I mean, it's only just a tag. That's a pure mistake, that, in terms of trying to get ahead. We're on the way to the line. Pole does lose out, though, to be fair, and it will be like 40 points. So I can understand that. But I would personally call that a racing incident. I definitely don't see it being point removal worthy, if I'm brutally honest with you. Just because going into that corner in the first place, Pole and Tsutsu have contact there. Tsutsu gets run off wide. And as I go through the left there, Pole was always going to be left in a bit of a weak scenario there. So at the time, if there was live student, which I really do want, I would have given a time penalty to the Italian of like 3 seconds. Drop them back behind Pole, essentially. That would be my goal there, because Pole did lose out, and it's an incident where Pole probably shouldn't have lost out. So, yeah, more racing incident. I don't think that's point-worthy removal, if I'm brutally honest. Okay, we jump to the next one then. So this involves Nico up ahead. So Nico's in the Genesis here, and he's racing Tsutsu, who will be in the AMG, because Tsutsu's always in the AMG. So let's have a look at this one first of all then, as we go into this. Going in towards the hairpin at the Nürburgring. Ooh, late on the brakes there. There's a slight tap between the two as we continue on through there. Now, first of all, what I would say with that situation... Oh, look, there's an Audi in the background. Well played, Danny, by the way, with your efforts here in the Audi. It's nice to see Audi in the manufacturers. But what I would say with this one, this is more... a greater problem, a bigger problem, a more worse incident than the previous clip, in my opinion. Because as Nico comes into here, as we go into this, so if we look ahead, Nico's going to go off the move. You do have to send it in places. I do say you can send it as long as you hit the apex. What does Nico not do in this scenario? He doesn't hit the apex, and arguably he would have actually gone off the circuit or be very close if Tsutsu wasn't there. The ping pong physics meant that Nico could come back nicely, and Tsutsu did lose out there in that situation. So that scenario, points were removed for Nico. Now, if it was the same race, I would have probably... I wouldn't have removed the points, a time penalty if I could. But I would say Tsutsu lost out massively in that situation. But Nico wasn't even... Nico didn't even claim the points for this race. It was the next race. Nico got points and he still got them removed. Very bizarre, but even so, that is one where it deserves a penalty. And for getting points in this scenario, literally that is a penalty, that one. It's way too deep. It's way too aggressive, in my opinion. You're not making the corner, so that would be a penalty in that race. I don't consider that a clean overtake, which is what we're here for. This next one then is an interesting one. So both these players got their points removed. We're going to have a look to see if both incidents are worthy of a penalty or whether it wasn't, and I'll consider it whether clean or dirty, and so on and so forth. So let's just watch it through first of all. We're on board the Alfa Romeo 4C here of Lopez as we head up towards this right-hander. Varians just pushes them out wide slightly there, and that puts them on the slippy stuff. They're going to come back on the circuit there. They've lost 2 positions, and then this is just not acceptable. Look at that, an absolute revenge takeout. And I'll be honest with you right now, revenge punting I don't like in the first place. You know this. I used to do the 3-strike rule. I don't even do that anymore because it just doesn't get you anywhere anyway. If you're punting somebody from just being pushed out slightly wide like that, it's just a tad ridiculous, if I'm brutally honest with you. So, we're going to watch this in slow-mo again, just to get the full aspect of this, and I'm going to give my opinion on each. So, heading up here then, on the left-hand side. Now, I just want to pause it here before we even get to the corner. Trying to go around the outside of somebody on this corner doesn't really work ever, unless you're on completely different tyres, or your tyres are in completely different states, okay? That is a fact in this scenario. So, trying this in the first place is very brave and very risky. As we continue on up here, we can just see Veyron start coming over. Now, Veyron is just trying to get the best line for the double right. Arguably, you don't actually have to go for the best line here for the double right, because in reality, you're always going to stay on the inside. You're always going to keep the position irrespective. There's no grip on the outside line. Lopez isn't getting this position. But even so, Veyron's going to come over here and accidentally pushes. And literally, it's the tiniest of margins. You can see that right here, okay, as we go into this right-hander. Now, yes, I'm going to say now, I would give that a penalty. I wouldn't say point removal, and I'm going to forget that points removal penalty. I'm just going to say that would be a penalty. You've misjudged it. It's on you. some Veyrunes in that situation, that is a penalty. Okay. Lopez goes off to circuit. And is going to lose 2 positions, I think it was. It was to the Italian and also Miura, wasn't it, in the Chevrolet? There we go. So Lopez is going to come back on and is going to absolutely send it and punt somebody off here with an absolute ridiculous takeout. Now, I have no idea whether the Italian there in the Huracan got damage in that scenario, because they did actually hit the Italian, if we look at that, when they get to this point. If you look at the front end here, gets tagged there. This could very well be damage there, and that could have ruined their race as well as the French driver's race. Now, if I see somebody do this in any championship I have done, ever, they are instantly banned from it. And I hope Gran Turismo actually went one step further and did ban them from sport mode in this, because that is just not acceptable, especially in the top split. Nobody wants to see this. It's just stupid and moronic. So, yeah, that's ridiculous. That's definitely a penalty. That's a ban. That's more than a penalty. That's a ban. That is pure dirty driving. With Veyrunes, it was just a misjudgment. It was bad driving. Just a misjudgment. That's all it was. And it was the tiniest misjudgments as well. Trying to maximize the time. They're in top split. We're talking thousandths of a second here to try and maintain with the group. As you can see, no nose ahead. So he didn't actually lose that much in the end. Ooh, pardon me with the microphone hit. So I would give a small time penalty to Veyrunes in that scenario. But again, Lopez should be banned, in my opinion. That's going to be it for this video then, folks. There's a lot more that could be discussed, but I realize this video is over half an hour long already. Do you agree with my points? Do you agree with some of those overtakes and my opinions? Am I right in some situations? Am I wrong in some situations? I'd love to hear your opinions, especially on each individual incident. If you are commenting on an individual incident, just make sure you put timestamp in your comment and what you feedback on, because that is always appreciated, of course. We had a look at both Gran Turismo World Series and some overtakes that I've been involved in, and unfortunate moments that I've been involved in as well. We saw some bad defending, some good defending, some bad overtakes, some good overtakes, and everything in the middle with this video. Big old long video. That is my thoughts on overtaking and defending. Generally speaking, just be nice to each other, give each other space, and have some fun. And sending it is allowed as long as you make the apex. That's my rule of thumb, and that's what I always do. So that's going to be it for me now, folks. I do appreciate all the support, and I do hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have, give it a like and subscribe to the channel to stay in touch with all the latest content. But that is going to be it for me. If you are wondering what to do with this week's race guide or this week's races, check out the weekly race guide. It's right there, or an alternative video there. And please do check out GT Amiga and Fanatec via my links in the description. Thanks once again for watching, and I hope to see you in another video live stream again very soon.